The statement of purpose is one of the most important pieces to the graduate school application process. It can be also called a statement of intent or a personal statement or a written statement, but it is not a traditional personal statement where you discuss your personal history and journey in great detail, but rather focuses on your research interests and prior training in order to state your case and why a graduate program should accept you. In this presentation, I will be talking about how to structure a statement of purpose and what key things you'll need to include in it when applying to graduate programs that focus on research. So, when applying for research degrees, whether it's a master's or a PhD, you are going to want to make sure you have and include a few key things in your statement. This includes your academic background, research area, and research training. Being sure to include these will make sure your application gets taken seriously. So let's talk about each. First, academic background refers to your undergraduate training and scholarly discipline. For example, my undergraduate training is in anthropology with a focus on sociocultural anthropology, whereas others may have a focus on medical anthropology, archaeology, biological anthropology, etc. Other academic backgrounds could include political science, sociology, communications, history, biology, and so on. You want to make sure that your academic background fits well or segues nicely into the program you're applying to. If you're applying to a different discipline than your prior academic degrees, you will want to first check to see if you're required to take any foundational courses, as well as make the argument for why your academic background has prepared you for pursuing the chosen research degree. For example, say after I finished my bachelor's degree, I wanted to go into a biology graduate program. I wouldn't have been accepted because I had only taken one biology course. In this case, I would want to check the requirements of the biology degree and see if I meet those, and if not, I would need to take the required courses before applying. However, say with my anthropology degree, I wanted to complete a degree program in sociology or history. That's more closely related, and I may not need to complete any prerequisites before applying. Moving on to the research area. You must have an area of research that you are proposing to study when applying to research-focused graduate programs. It doesn't have to be fully developed, but you do have to articulate what you want to research and why, or why there's a need to research that proposed topic. That is, it has to be something that has not been well studied yet. So, for example, when I applied to graduate school, I was interested in how undocumented immigrant youth navigated their way through high school to enroll in college. Therefore, broadly, I was interested in immigration, and more specifically, I was interested in undocumented youth who were pursuing college. The region I was interested in was Arizona. Also, when talking about your research area, it's important to mention the types of methods you want to use, whether they are qualitative, such as ethnographic interviews and participant observation, or quantitative, using surveys and statistics, or a mix of the two. This information will go into your statement of purpose. When applying for research degrees, the programs are most interested in whether you are able to conceptualize a project and whether your research interests are a good fit with the department and whether there is someone who can advise you. That is, you wouldn't apply to a program where there is no one with the expertise related to your proposed research, as there would be no one who could advise you. And lastly, to be a competitive applicant, you should have some research training prior to applying to the program. This means that you have learned about the research process and how to collect data either by participating in research projects with faculty in labs or as part of a class, or possibly having completed a field school. It could also include that you have undertaken your own research project where you collected and analyzed data, such as an independent research project or honors thesis. Note that having completed a research paper in a class where you looked up information and cited it is not the same as conducting a research project where you collect and analyze data and then write it up in a paper. Undergraduate research experiences are fairly rare to come by as an undergraduate, but do exist for those who seek them out. To be a competitive applicant, therefore, students should look for and apply to research internships or apprenticeships. When in doubt, ask one of your professors or your academic advisor how to get involved in research. Now that we've discussed what experience you need, let's talk about how you put that into your statement of purpose and what other components you need. Most schools will specify what they want in a statement of purpose, especially if they have any specific requirements. They will usually specify page length or word count as well, because this does vary from program to program. But if they do not list a page limit, it's a good rule of thumb to keep it to 2 pages, single-spaced. Remember, this is not a personal statement, it is a statement of purpose. Do not write a life history that moves chronologically from your childhood until now. This is much different than other types of applications you're familiar with. They want to know that you are ready to take on graduate level research. They want to know you are focused and committed to pursuing a career in research in a very particular and specific area. And remember, they are going to be reading hundreds of these, so it's important to get to the point. Don't try to be artsy and stylistic. A well-articulated statement of your research interests and how you have prepared yourself to pursue this research is all you need. Easy, right? So let's delve a little deeper into the statement of purpose. When thinking about how to structure your statement, you can use these 4 sections to guide you. Personal statements don't typically have headings for each section. This here just helps you outline and conceptualize the structure and flow. I'll go over each of the 4 sections next. The majority of your statement, say the first 50% of it, should focus on your proposed research topic. This is typically the most difficult part, and I suggest that you get plenty of help from any faculty advisors or other graduate students you may know. It is important to start early because you need to revise and revise and revise some more. In this section, you need to have a specific research question and project in mind that has not been studied before. Faculty want to see that you can conceptualize a new and innovative project for your dissertation. They are not necessarily going to hold you to carry out that specific project. People change and modify their projects, but the goal is that they know you can think of something. So, what does this mean? It means that you have taken the time to understand the scholarly literature. That is, what research has been done before and by who, what did they find, and what questions are still unanswered that you are proposing to research. Based upon that scholarly literature, you want to be sure to clearly write out a research question. In this section, your application will stand out if you cite those previous studies, and you can include them in a reference list at the end of your statement. Here, you also will want to justify why this research is important and why the question you propose to study is anticipated to contribute to that. This is often referred to as the research implications. You can end this section with the types of training and knowledge you will need to gain in order to carry out this research. Here, it is important that you refer to the types of research methods that the program you are applying to offers and state how those will help you reach your research goals. So let's go over some tips here. It is important to have a clearly defined research question because no matter how smart or accomplished you are, if you don't have a proposed research project, you won't be admitted. This is no ifs, ands, and buts about it. And your research project and your question are going to help determine if you are a good fit to the program and the faculty. Even if you are not totally certain you actually want to carry out the proposed research, it is important that you sound confident in that research for admissions purposes. You want to make sure that your research idea is not too broad, but not too narrow, so that multiple faculty would be able to help you and train you. Remember, you'll need to have at least one person serve as the chair of your committee plus 2 other faculty. So you should be specific, but don't make things up or make assumptions. And don't be afraid to show that you are open to changing directions and exploring how you can refine your research proposal as you continue your training. And you definitely don't want to say you've already conducted the research. You can say that you have conducted preliminary research in your proposed area and state what you found thus far, but that you want to further that research. I've seen students state that they have already collected their data and just need to write up their findings, and they come across as though they have nothing left to learn. And those students don't usually get accepted. The next section you want to write will outline your previous research training. And this is about a quarter of your statement, so 1 to 2 paragraphs. If you have a lot of research experience, you will want to focus mostly on the previous training that is relevant to what you want to pursue in graduate school. If you have very little research training, then you can list all of it, and if it is not relevant to what you want to study, discuss how any of the skills you gained from that training can transfer to your proposed project. For example, say you worked on entering photos into a database and then analyzed those photos with thematic analysis, but that your proposed research has nothing to do with photos and you want to collect interview data. You can state that you learned data management and organization from the photo project and that the analysis skills and theme development and coding you developed will transfer into the analysis of the interview data you propose to collect. In this section, you can include research training you gained in any of the following areas: research design, data collection, data management, data analysis, writing up, and presenting. This experience can be part of a class, whether it was a solo or group research project, your own independent project, direct work with the faculty, part of a lab, a field school, or apprenticeship. You can discuss the types of data collection methods you've been training on, such as interviews, participant observation, collecting survey data, etc., as well as any methods of analyzing those data, such as quantitative or statistical analysis or qualitative analysis. You can also mention the types of software programs you are familiar with to help collect, store, manage, and analyze data. If you have worked directly with faculty on research, in this section, you can state their full names and positions and what you learned under them. Hopefully, these are the same people who are writing your letters of recommendation. Remember, you need to highlight things directly related to the research you hope to continue or make sure to connect what you got out of that experience to what you want to do. You do not have to be exhaustive, as your readers will have your transcripts and your recommenders will often go into further detail about your research training and courses in which they taught you. In this third shorter section, which is no more than 1 to 2 paragraphs, you want to highlight any other experience that makes you suited for graduate studies and your proposed research. This can include any language training or abilities and/or any personal background that would be relevant. For example, say you want to study refugee health disparities and experiences with the U.S. healthcare system. If you have worked with a not-for-profit organization that works with refugees, you can include that experience as it shows you have worked with the proposed study group. Or say you come from the population you would like to conduct your study with. For instance, you may be interested in studying immigrant single mothers from Mexico, and you are a daughter of an immigrant single mother, and you speak Spanish. In this section, you will want to highlight that relevant information. You can also discuss what you will be doing or what you have been doing between completing your bachelor's and applying for graduate program, such as continuing lab work, learning a new statistical package, language training, traveling to identify possible research topics, working in a field related to your research interests, etc. Lastly, in this section, you can discuss any deficits in your application materials. Say, for example, your cumulative GPA is lower than your major GPA because of something that happened during your undergraduate studies. Here you can briefly explain why, how you overcame any challenges, and what you have done to make up those deficiencies. Then you can highlight the positives, such as your major GPA being quite higher because of the steps you took to get good grades. The last section will be your concluding paragraph. First, you will want to state that you want to pursue a career in research and state what types of jobs you are aiming for. Don't be too narrow, but be sure to focus on research-related jobs. For instance, you may state that you want to teach at a university and you need a PhD. Teaching by itself is not a compelling reason to pursue a PhD because of the focus on research. However, teaching and conducting research and/or teaching others how to do research is more compelling. Then you state why the program you're applying to would provide you the necessary training and research skills to help you complete your proposed dissertation research and help you reach your career goals. This can include what courses they offer, what resources they have access to, Say, for instance, if there's a research lab you're interested in working in, and you should absolutely list out faculty who you believe could advise you. These faculty will then most likely be tasked with reading your statement and application, and if you have previously made contact with them, they will expect to review your materials. You should specifically state why they would be a good mentor for you by outlining their conceptual knowledge, area of research, and/or expertise in a particular research method you wish to learn. You can also mention you have communicated with the stated faculty, if you've done so, and that they have shown interest in working with you. You can end the statement with a sentence thanking the faculty for reviewing your application. Let's end with a few key thoughts. Applying to research-focused master's and PhD programs is about research, research, research. Not only should you research the programs you plan to apply to and research the faculty you'd like to work with, you should always also focus your personal statement on your proposed research. The research can propose to impact and help others, but you shouldn't state that you want to learn to help others. If you want to directly help others, you should consider looking into applied professional graduate programs. Rather, you want to be sure to focus on learning to do research by carrying out your research project. Writing the statement is difficult, and I suggest you start with an outline to get you going. List out each of the 4 sections discussed here and start putting down thoughts for what you can include in each section. These can be quick bullets or start a mind map, whatever works for you. Get help from faculty and graduate students you may know. And the Writing Center can also help. It's important to start working on your statement early. In fact, it should be one of the first things you begin working on. And finally, based on the feedback you get, you'll want to keep revising it until it's in great shape. After all, the statement of purpose is one of the most important pieces of your graduate school application and therefore worth spending your time on.